Hello and welcome to the new podcast series on Bangladesh's emerging foreign policy narrative. I am your host, Niloy Ranjan Biswas, and I'll be talking on Bangladesh's foreign policy today. And we have the pleasure of having our guest today, Professor Syeda Rozana Rashid. Professor Rashid is a faculty of the Department of International Relations, University of Dhaka. She has an amazing career working on particularly the issues regarding Bangladesh's diplomacy and foreign policy on with particular emphasis on labor migration and also the rights of the immigrants, particularly in the context of Bangladesh. Today's conversation obviously explores how Bangladesh is reimagining its soft power. I can understand that soft power can also be a contested terminology, but when we consider, for example, as we know that remittance is one of the very significant income source for Bangladesh, and the contribution of Bangladesh's labor migrants of all kinds, skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled, has been very critical in this regard. So, based on your research of last more than 2 decades, how do you frame that the government or the state of Bangladesh has so far considered migration as an important issue for diplomacy?
Thank you.
Thank
you. Dr. Niloy, I'm very privileged to be here today. It's a great opportunity to share my thoughts and also share some of the issues and findings that I have been advocating and working for the last 2 decades. So, regarding your first question, how and in what ways the very aspect of migration are emphasized in Bangladesh foreign policy or in overall economic policy of Bangladesh. Actually, being at descending end, Bangladesh is already in an advantageous position. It has a huge population and workable population, which many other countries cannot even imagine to have. So it is an asset. We don't have any natural asset as such, but we can consider it as an asset. And from that point of view, since 1970s, these people are contributing significantly in the economy of the country by their migration to other countries and earning their wages, sending their wages as remittances, which actually help their households as well as the overall economy of the country. It is one of the main pillar of the country. But in terms of attention, I'd say insufficient attention has been paid so far. If we consider migration as a strategic thing, as a development aspect, from security aspect, it has not been paid sufficient attention by any government so far. I would recommend that because, the whole gamut of migration is actually market driven. And it is basically the people who want to go abroad with the help of the market that they're arranging the whole thing. The government and other entities, other stakeholders, they came quite late in the whole thing, just to monitor and supervise and, maintain or, just established the rights of the migrants. That point came much later. It was basically came as a livelihood strategy for people, and people started it by themselves.
Right.
So still it is going on in that way, and still there are many stakeholders who are not under the direct control or supervision of the state or the government, and we are yet to achieve the full potential of migration as a state, as people, or as community.
Excellent. Thank you. That's a very interesting context that you have provided, and particularly when we are still, struggling with the fact that that the state has not probably have institutionalized the entire remittance as a diplomatic maneuver or diplomatic factor. One important story that we often hear that the differences between skilled migration and semi-skilled migration or non-skilled migration. As we know that a significant amount of our migrants are semi-skilled and they probably go to Middle Eastern and West Asian countries, and that's also a big source for our remittance as well. But if we consider the total trend, so perhaps the requirement for skilled migration has been increasing over the last couple of days because of the technological development, all that. Is that the trend? And then what will be the challenge for us, because we are, or are we really being able to transforming our unskilled or semi-skilled laborers to a skilled laborers according to the demands from the host countries?
Okay. First, if we think the geography of migration, the topography of migration is quite interesting. People from Bangladesh with different level of skill, they are going to different regions. So there is a geopolitical aspect of migration which has been established over time from Bangladesh. For example, if you consider the unskilled and semi-skilled people, they are mostly destined to the Gulf and also the Southeast Asia, Malaysia, in these countries. Some of the semi-skilled and skilled people are going to Singapore and also to Korea and some other developed countries of East and West. And irregular migration is happening to Europe, who want to get there just to change their living standard. And also there is a full group of professional who as students, they arrive in the developed countries, quote unquote, the West, the North America, Australia, and Europe, and they became settled. So it's a quite curious mixture of migration that Bangladesh has been experiencing for quite a long time. And the geography is not the same.
Right.
And these different people have different type of demand, different type of their opportunities, and different type of their risk. So we have to consider the whole thing from that point of view.
Right.
I won't agree that, because of technological development, the demand for unskilled or semi-skilled worker has decreased to a significant level. There are the dual market or dual, labor market system in Gulf and other countries of the world, where there will always be a demand for unskilled labor.
Right.
But I'm not saying that Bangladesh has to fulfill that demand. Bangladesh should always be at the bottom of the hierarchy of migration or migrants. But unfortunately, it is competing with India and some other countries,
Right.
Nepal, Sri Lanka, for those positions only. The demand for skilled migrants are growing over time. It's true. But at the same time, it is true that, they have the demand for the people from Bangladesh for some other reasons. For example, in the Gulf, we can think about religion. This is a big thing.
Absolutely.
Experience, the behavior of the Bangladeshis, they like it. And also in terms of Southeast Asia, we have proximity with those regions. They know us. In Malaysia especially, people like Bangladeshis very much because of their behavior and also their work experience and the way they work. So it helps. These are the factors that often lose sight. But we have to think about it. And in combination with that, if we can skill these people
Right.
to certain level, then the opportunity comes for them also to increase their remittances, as well as this an opportunity for Bangladesh to bargain with those countries that you should take my people. At the moment, we cannot bargain. We bargain, but at the cost of the human rights violation,
Right.
non-payment of wages, very low payment of wages, all these things are there. So from that point of view, skilling is very important for Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, exactly. But just a quick question. I mean, I might be wrong, but just want to clarify my own understanding on this. Is this data correct that remittance from skilled migration is usually lower from the remittance of the unskilled, semi-skilled migration in the context of Bangladesh? Or I might be totally wrong about this. Because the skilled migration to the West, and they usually stay back over there and do not come back or send back monies or something like that?
So far, I know,
Mhm.
since COVID, we have received huge amount of money from the USA.
Okay.
So it is the skilled migrants
Who sent this?
who send
Right.
those things, and still USA is registering high in the remittance sending countries.
Right.
So this is not fully correct.
Correct.
You
Information,
know,
right.
from we receive very little amount of money compared to from a skilled migrant than
Right.
from unskilled. But it is true that the people who stay in the developed countries, their families are relatively well off and then need less money. And the other point is they are already settled there.
Settled
So they
there.
have their own families and
Exactly.
their
They need to spend money
they have
in
to
their-
spend money
Right, exactly.
in their way. So that is another thing. But for this is the reason why we need to skill up the people whom we are targeting or preparing for
Right.
Gulf and other countries.
Right. So now let us talk about the global migration governance mechanism and Bangladesh's position. Just one small debate that we often hear that population movement is still a contradictory and a problematic issue. Unlike the movement of the goods and services, and the way how WTO governance mechanism works, the population movement has been very much problematic due to very different regions. Sometimes the rise of ultranational thoughts, even different kinds of threats of terrorism that often restricted borders and so on and so forth. Therefore, destinations to both semi-skilled or skilled populations have created different mechanisms for the entry of the labors in that context. So, how do you evaluate the path for Bangladesh to negotiate always and create opportunities for peoples or migrants?
Yes, you're right to some extent that yes, migration has been securitized over time. It has been politicized, it has been securitized, and also the border restriction is part and parcel of migration governance. And it is also true that so far we have not yet been able to establish global governance
Right.
on migration. No countries want to be monitored or actually, come under any control of superior authority who will say, okay, open your border
Right.
or close your border. So it is a matter of sovereignty. It is a matter of statehood that the states see within migration. But within that context, as a aspiring middle country, Bangladesh has to think about how it can create migration as a soft power for itself, and also it can leverage its people
Right.
for a foreign policy, that will include migration as a leverage for other type of foreign policy negotiation,
Right.
or harnessing other benefits, for example, economy, trade, and other aspects. So, in terms of migration, Bangladesh can actually leverage its people. People, if you add values to your people through skills and also through education, then obviously it's an asset and you can always talk about it. You can always bring it in the negotiation, in the foreign policy negotiation with other countries. Although, in terms of hierarchies or power politics, Bangladesh is not in an equal position with the Gulf or any other countries. But it can actually negotiate if it can skill those people, because those people, those countries will need them. So it's rather than seeing myself as a bottomless basket, as dependent, we have to come out of that kind of narratives and that kind of mentality. We should look at the things from the point of view of an equal a demand supply kind of scenario. We can look at it and then we can negotiate. The other thing that can help Bangladesh is its image in the world.
Exactly.
It has over time earned a good image, like a peace-loving country, it adhered to international norms, and also it has a very good contribution to the development of norms. It's a norm and entrepreneur.
Right.
So from that point of view, it can obviously get certain advantage when it sits on the negotiation table. But the point is the extent to which we can actually navigate that, we can
Right.
use that. This is important. The skill, the maneuvering skill in foreign policy, that is very important.
Very important, right?
And also, we are sitting in the multilateral forums.
Exactly.
We are taking part in negotiation, in dialogues, and also we had a very good image of and contribution to Global Compact on Migration.
Exactly.
And also during the international review forums, we also submit our reports quite regularly. So these are the things that can take Bangladesh to the next stage where it can negotiate international laws to bring those countries where the receiving countries into certain kind of obligations that you are taking people, but you have to adhere to the international norms and you have to fulfill the human rights of these people. So it is another way.
Right.
And yes.
I mean, I was just pointing out because as you have mentioned, the Global Compact of Migration and Bangladesh's participation both from the government and the civil society has been quite remarkable in the last couple of years. If you'd like to identify one or two things that we have achieved through our participations, but I'd like to ask this as well, like as opposed to that success story of multilateral platforms and its impact on the receiving countries, there are also allegations that this global governance has not really stopped the violation of the rights of migrants in the receiving countries or the countries that they are there for their economic livelihoods in this context. So are these challenges still existing over there, and what have we achieved through the multilateral platforms?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier,
Right.
that still we are not getting any global governance in migration. It's quite difficult to get it because migration is a state-led process
Right.
that is state recognized, although it is a market-led process. But a state usually want to see it in that way. And that is why we have to go a long way with that. But the good thing that we have achieved from Global Compact for migration, that we could actually revamp our, domestic capabilities because of our involvement in that. For example, we have established a kind of domestic compact, the interministerial coordination that has started already,
Right.
to deal with the migration, their rights, their, their the monitoring system, and their traveling, their also the skill level. So there is an advisory higher level committee that has been already that has been established already, and also our own commitment to migration that has established. And in the multilateral forum, if the image that Bangladesh has already has established so
Right.
far, I think it can take a leading role. It has already been considered one of the 18 champion countries for a global compact on migration. But we can take it further through multilateral and bilateral negotiation with our countries of, respective countries of migrant receiving and transit countries through the use of our images in the global arena.
Right. Do you think, particularly with Europe and United States, migration has become a critical issue of diplomacy, not only as part of the negotiation that whether they would be willing to take more skilled migrants from us or countries like us, but also a matter of conversation that connects other relevant issues like good governance, like the access to RMGs and other trade sectors as well. And of course, it's an matter of image, because if there's anything wrong that happens by any of our fellow countrymen, that creates and has probably an impact on other issues of diplomacy and foreign policy as well. So what is your opinion as well as suggestion for the community?
Yes, you are right. With Europe, we are in a very, very, uh, you know, complex and paradoxical situation, because in one hand we need European Union's assistance and their for their investment, trade, everything which they want to leverage on human rights standard, democracy, all this thing. On the other hand, we have migrants who are trying to reach European countries through irregular means. So at that point, it is very unfortunate that we couldn't reach up to the mark in terms of negotiation with those countries, because we should have a negotiation. We should have mobility partnership with European countries in terms of dealing with this irregular migration with Frontex and also those countries. We already have, recently we have an agreement with Italy and Bangladesh. Italy has agreed to provide technical assistance to and for skilling, vocational training, monitoring, information exchange, and everything, which may appear to be a bit kind of a bit hierarchical to some extent, but I see it a positive gesture in the sense that with Italy, we can actually start negotiation like this with other countries of Europe or even European Union, and we can show our willingness to deal this issue in a very transparent way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it is important.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. And also the role of diaspora, because already we have a significant number of people who are staying both in the destinations where skilled workers are and the semi-skilled workers are. So what role diaspora can play in your opinion?
This is something which has now never been actually tapped in that way. Many other countries like India, Mexico, they have a vibrant diaspora, and they can actually bring diaspora investment, diaspora knowledge, different kinds of things that diaspora can offer to those countries. But Bangladesh, in terms of Bangladesh, we never thought about this. And also diasporas found some kind of alienation from the country. We realized it when we did research on them. But now it's time that we actually invite them. We make them at home in this country. We make arrangement, facilitate their participation in the country, because they have, by this time, there are second generation of diaspora in many countries, and they have a lot to give us.
Absolutely.
Actually. So we have to make strategies. Our migration strategy should include this diaspora, the labor migrants, and also irregular migrants. We should develop a multi-pronged strategy to actually advance our country to certain level. This is very important.
That is very important. And perhaps within our country as well, like there are ministries, there are more than one ministry. So we have expatriate welfare ministry, and nonetheless, the Ministry of Youth is also very connected, because most of our migrants are youth, young by age as well. So that's probably our last conversation, that if you would like to suggest something more for the government and how they can incorporate the non-government actors, like the facilitators who send, the actors who are very critical in terms of from the private sector, to help sending the people abroad. So what is your suggestion? Because there are so many stories about them.
Yes.
Including the brokers as well. We probably haven't talked about
You are right. We have 1,500 recruitment agencies. They're licensed, and there are many unlicensed recruiting agencies. Yes, you are right. Time has come to think about a strategy that will actually include not only the governments, different institutions, different ministries, but also other stakeholders like private sector, the market, and also migrants themselves.
Right.
And we have already seen that this interim government has already developed advisory committee with a very high-level committee with the participation of different advisors of relevant ministries. For example, Minister of Expatriate Welfare, and then Ministry of Education, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Ministry of course, Foreign Ministry is there. So often there are tough ministerial, toughs and who will do what. So that kind of thing has to be resolved, and the distribution of the work should be done in a way so that the migrants get maximum output from institutional development, because Bangladesh is a country which has a good record of actually promulgating Migration Act, laws, policies. Many of the countries in South Asia and many countries in the world, sending countries, they don't have this kind of thing. Also, Bangladesh's participation in regional consultative process. We have Colombo process and Abu Dhabi dialogues and different even Migrant Forum Asia. We are connected, but we have not so far been able to harness the benefit of those connections. And so internally at the domestic level, we can develop a multi-stakeholder kind of committee which will be responsible for advancing this thing. Outside also, the relevant ministries, through their coordination, they can take the matter with the global, regional, and bilateral actors.
But my absolutely last point. So, Ministry of Foreign Affairs has anything to do in this particular case?
Of course, there are lack of transparencies regarding the MOUs, and also the embassies abroad. There are a lot of criticism regarding the role of embassies, what they're doing, what they're supposed to do, and there are complaints regarding the services. But it is not only services, but it has to be reorganized, reoriented, reimagined in a new way. Otherwise, the MOFA's the current focus is not migration.
Exactly.
It has to be connected with the overall foreign policy goal, objectives, and strategies. Migration should be mainstreamed with the foreign policy objectives. That is the thing that MOFA should do at the moment.
Thank you so much. We have had an engaging and very interesting insights regarding the broader issues of migration, particularly in the focus on labor migration and Bangladesh's role, our experience, and what we need to do. I can totally imagine that is coming from your long time research and investment in time and intellectual exercises on this particular regard. We are very thankful to you for your insights and suggestions for all the stakeholders who are relevant to this. Thank you, Professor Rozana Rashid. Thank you. Thank you so much, dear viewers. I think you have also enjoyed with the new insights that we have been listening from Professor Syeda Rozana Rashid, Professor of International Relations, University of Dhaka, regarding labor migration, broadly migration as an important foreign policy tool for Bangladesh. We thank you for your patience listening, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.